So first up, we are excited to welcome to the stage our keynote, Robert Shear. Robert is a technology executive and serial entrepreneur whose career has focused on the intersection of emerging technologies and real-world industries, including construction, manufacturing, and wildfire resilience. Currently VP of Strategy at OpenSpace, a construction tech company using AI and computer vision to transform how the world gets built. Robert has spent over 2 decades building products, developing markets, and scaling teams. For the past 10 years, Robert has been deeply involved in wildfire resilience and has co-founded 3 companies that help communities better understand, manage, and respond to wildfire risk. Please help me welcome Robert to the stage.
Thank you. I didn't really understand the somersault thing. Am I supposed to do a somersault or not? No, I can't do one. That was a long intro. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. A little bit of housekeeping. I understand that there's often folks take off after the keynote. I would really encourage you not to do that tonight. Dave Winokur, friend of mine and colleague, will be kind of going into the practical realities of what we're talking about here, so I would definitely stick around with that. I'm going to kind of skim off the top of 3 big topics and ask you guys to participate, so careful. All right. 3 key messages. And I will say that we had a session maybe 2 months ago where we talked about a bunch of this stuff, and the top one is what people sort of came away kind of with their mind spinning. We don't really have a wildfire problem, we have a community burning down problem. They're very different problems, and so I'm going to talk about that. Wildfire resilience has emerged as a really rapidly growing investable market. I'm going to talk about that. And then finally, we are looking to spin up an incubator here around wildfire technology. And I want to talk to you about why we want to do it here and why now's the time to do it. I'm going to call out Mark. It's his fault. At the BBC conference last year, I kind of heard about it. My wife, who's here, was like, you get out, go, meet people. And I went and did that. And I said things about like construction and all the stuff that person just said. And then I said wildfire, and everyone's like, wait, what are you doing? Wildfire. And so Mark's like, oh man, I got to show you the video. So she showed me the videos of the back of his house almost burning down. His brother-in-law is a wildfire, right? Saved the house. I had 5 conversations like that within 25 minutes at the BBC conference. And so it's just really stuck with me, like something's different here. Something's different here. Okay, then here, I come from California, where Dave and I have been doing this for a while. Okay. All right, so here's the agenda, intro. Yeah, this is me. And this is how it all happened. Dave can attest to this. Just basically like became the tech whisperer to a bunch of firefighters and fire chiefs. And hey, Dork, why can't we do this? Hey, Dork, why can't we do that? And we ended up kind of spinning up a few companies to do that. And coincidentally, a lot of the people who were part of those companies are here, which is kind of amazing. First one was evacuation management. It was called Zonehaven, became Genesis. All of Oregon's on it for evacuation management. Second one was called Pyrezo, and JP, who is here, ran that. It's a home hardening app. And then the third one, which Dave will talk about, is called Xyloplan. And it's all about, okay, so we're going to mitigate risk. Where? How? Where's your prioritization? So that's what that's all about. So yeah, I'm not an expert at all, but that little thing in the blue is what I do. It's like, yeah, I know a guy. In fact, Julianne and I were just on a call today about insurance, about wildfire, and I introduced her to a guy. I know a guy, and it turned out to be a great conversation. So that's kind of what's been going on. All right, reframing wildfire risk. You're going to hear a lot about this guy, Jack Cohen. I'm not saying he's the only voice out there, but he's pretty prominent. And he says, we don't have a wildfire problem, we have a structure ignition problem. And this is a very famous picture from Maui. I'm going to do a couple videos, and this is the first one here.
We're 98% successful in our initial attacks. So we're putting our energy into the very, very difficult margins of control during the severe conditions. And we're not gaining. In boldface, it basically tells us that we're going in the wrong direction. We want to do fuel treatment, and particularly since 2018, we have emphasized the idea of doing fuel treatment, maintaining the wildfire definition of the problem, instead of taking the opportunity to be more practically effective with regard to changing the ignitability of the thing that gets destroyed, which are the structures.
Okay, so that's just the framing here, which is that fires are going to happen, extreme fires are going to happen, they're going to come through, and whether, the idea of stopping those is difficult. Like he's saying, we're on the margin of control there. But we can make our homes and our communities safe so they don't burn down. And that's a lot of what we're talking about today. So what this is the large dot is the loss, and the small dots are the number of fires. And you can see the asymmetry here, right? A few fires cause the majority of the losses. In fact, 2.7% of the fires cause 89% of the losses. Why is that? They're fast. It's not big, it's not intense, it's fast. And so you see the speed is the tipping point here. And so what we really have is a situation where when the conditions are right, when it's windy, dry, the fuel's ready, and these things are gonna go, they're gonna go. I mean, you got people in here who are part of the flat fire. Mark, Julianne, a number of people were part of that. My understanding, and people in the room know better, is that the reason those many more houses didn't burn down is the wind changed. It wasn't some new technology. I mean, Ken, you could talk about that. It's the wind changed, right? Are we going to change the wind? Probably not, right? And then speaking of the flat fire, at one point there were 770 homes in the path, and there were 45 firefighters. So I say this because not to be doom and gloom. It's that the cavalry is not coming. You're not going to just wait for that tanker to drop stuff on your house. You're not going to wait for the trucks to come. The trucks just don't exist. So we have to do something as a community to make our communities more fire resistant.
Over the last 30 years, my colleagues and I have done research involving laboratory experiments, field experiments, and post-fire disaster assessments to quantify and qualify the relationship between a wildfire and a destroyed home. What we found is that the high-intensity flames, more than 100 feet away from the house, are largely incapable of igniting the house directly. But it's the little things that seem to be destroying the houses. The burning embers, we call them firebrands, lofted out of the high-intensity wildfire to land in the community, sometimes directly on houses as well as the surroundings. It's not 100-foot flames. It's a pile of firebrands that would fit in the palm of our hand.
So I show that second video just to say, a couple of firebrands fit in your hand. That doesn't sound very threatening. Did you see what that looks like when a fire comes through a community and those embers and firebrands? It's pretty intense. So a few pictures here just to sort of demonstrate this idea that trees burning does not equal houses burning, and houses burning does not equal trees burning. That's kind of, most people think of this as like, oh, I gotta get the trees away from my house. I gotta cut everything down. No. But you can see here, before and after, the trees are just fine, right? There's some grass gone, but that house is gone. Same thing here, that house on the left, those trees are just fine. That house is gone. This is a fire that, crossed the street. It came from right to left. Definitely the trees on the right, those are burned and done. But look at all the row of houses hiding or not hiding in there anymore under those trees. So it's not the idea that it goes tree to tree to tree. There's different ignition mechanisms for how this happens. And the other side, you can have a fire like that in your front yard and your house survives, right? So it's, again, this is not doom and gloom. It's just rethinking the mechanics, okay? All right, so what are the mechanics? Same guy. He has this very simple framework of like, you got to have the right prerequisites. It's got to be dry, it's got to be hot, it's got to be wind. Something's got to ignite it. That then turns into something that transitions to an urban environment. And then there's the urban fire, right, where houses catch each other. So what it means is your house can withstand wildfire, right? That's the top picture. But only if your neighbors do the work too. Now, if you're within 50 feet, if you're 100 feet or more than that, you're kind of on your own, not on your own in a good way. You have different, you can determine your fate. If you're close in, your neighbors got to do the work too. Okay. So the way I think about it is to the left, it's a wildfire problem. Like, shoot, we got wildfires, they started, they're spreading. To the right, it's a collective action problem. And I think that I really want you to pay attention to that, because that's why I think Bend in particular is a place we can make this happen. So another way to think about it, thanks to AI, is you've got this, and I'm going to talk about it. You have this, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Tribe group of people who really think they can bomb every fire within 10 minutes of starting. And so you've got the situation where these are top-down, exquisite, expensive. Expensive also means making some money, right? Like, I'm going to sell you a C-130 that's got 100 bombs in it that's going to bomb things. So there's people working on this as far as market opportunity. But what really matters is stuff on the right? It's bottom-up, resilient, and then, again, Jack says this, it's not rocket science, it's harder. It's social science. And so how do you actually get 70% participation? That's the hard part. If you want to learn more, one of the guys we're working with, based in Portland, really amazing guy called Ralph Blomers. He's created this thing called Fire Safe People TV, and he's out there filming every day people who are preparing for wildfire, recovering. So he's a great resource. All right, market dynamics. I'm going to skip through this kind of quickly, but this is a real market. A lot more investors are investing in this. Big names, right? So you see kind of General Atlantic, Norwest, American Family Ventures. These are not sort of peripheral investors. And then there are companies like Convective, for example, that really were formed to fund wildfire and wildfire resilience. You can think of it lots of different ways. Everyone's got one of these things. This is mine. And so kind of going left to right, you've got detection and suppression, mitigation, survivability and continuity, then rebuilding and recovery. And in every single one of these, you've got things like autonomy. There's a ton of autonomy. People want robots to be crawling on the ground. They want to be flying. There's a ton of that. Simulation, communication, coordination, all that tech stuff. And then the bottom, you've got to underpin it with insurance, lending, and real estate. There's a lot of innovation happening in insurance right now. In fact, Julianne and I are working on that, and Dave. It doesn't come across as like technology, but man, that's going to unlock a lot. So this is kind of one way to think about it. I'm not going to talk about rebuilding and recovery because, I don't know much about it. And also, if you're there, you've kind of, we've done something wrong. So detection and suppression. So again, the idea here is that satellites will watch the Earth 24/7. They will identify fires. Within 5 minutes, they will identify them, locate them, and some thing is going to fly over and drop a bomb on it, right? That's kind of what's going on. And so here's one little video of what this might look like. A little autonomous helicopter flying over a fire, basically dropping water balloons. But what do you notice about this environment versus the one where those embers were sort of moving all over the ground? Anyone? Not windy. Right. So you've got this situation where these folks are like, I'm going to fly this thing over here. No, you're not. You're not going to get it off the ground. You're not going to, there's aircraft up there. You're not going to let you fly. So it's just this, in my opinion, this sort of fallacy. And it goes further, right? So a lot of the names you might recognize, SpaceX, Lockheed, apparently Dave just told me this backed out, but anyway, Anduril, Palantir, they see this as a huge, huge market, right? Because they can take all this military stuff they're building and they can take it for wildfire. And so I think pay particular attention to this thing on the bottom right. That's literally a bomb with 110 gallons of fire retardant in it that they want to drop on bombs, drop on fires. And so they want to have a C-130 loitering all the time above the West. Now, what happens when that's a Girl Scout campfire? I mean, seriously, how do you even think about this? How do you drop, military equipment on every fire when it's like a campfire? So it's just, anyway, you get the point. I'm not a big fan of that type of stuff. So here's, again, thanks to Dave. Dr. Strangelove, Smokey the Bear, B-2 Bomber, water balloons. That kind of captures it all right there. It's kind of the what it seems like to me. And then again, mitigation preparation. So this is the idea of how do you actually reduce the susceptibility of a community to burn or a house to burn. Bunch of stuff here. You see up top, there's sort of autonomous little Roombas for the forest, people like to call them. There's this thing on the bottom is a services, right? So there's lots of services popping up where there's sort of landscapers plus, where they'll help you mitigate. There's this thing in the top middle left is a app that helps you map your defensible space, do home hardening, all that type of thing. And then Xyloplan, which Dave's going to talk about, which again, you got to stick around for. It's a good show. Is the one in yellow, which is all about how do we know where to do the mitigation and with what priority. So I'm not going to do video of that because you got Dave coming up. This one I think is really interesting. And I've been talking with the folks at OSU about this a little bit. We all, relatively new to Bend, we now learn that a lot of people will rent places on the coast for August and September that they can cancel, and they're just like, yeah, it's a smoke season. We're just going to leave, right? So there's this, everyone understands this stuff. We have the PSPSs where we live. There's a communications tower on the top of the hill, and they shut down our power if something happens. So this is what we're living through. And so there's all these opportunities and businesses spinning up to provide home kind of systems, like keep your power on, keep your communications on, maybe keep your air purifiers on, right? That type of stuff. And then there are these private firefighters. So there's a whole business about like how do you adapt to a fire in your area, right? Not necessarily in your neighborhood, but in your area. So a quick couple videos on that.
Every year, thousands of wildfires threaten land and homes. Even the tiniest of embers can kindle a raging fire. This wildfire season, it's time to fire back. Introducing Frontline Wildfire Defense, a customized sprinkler system that saturates your house with water and firefighting foam so it's too wet to burn. Frontline's app alerts you when the fire is near and lets you remotely activate your system, even if you've evacuated. At Frontline, we're here to protect your family and home before disaster strikes.
So it looks great, right? And they're selling a lot of these things. Some challenges, water supply, a number of things, but there's definitely markets for this, and they're selling them. Another one, this is more of back to
fighting
the comical
wildfires
side.
can be a lot like fighting wars. At least that's the case for an Israeli tech startup that took inspiration from their country's famous Iron Dome defense shield. Earlier this year, we told you about Fire Dome, a new system that detects spot fires, then launches rockets filled with retardant to put the fires out. Now the company is reporting another breakthrough, the first ever real-world demonstration of its systems, which are designed to be automatic, self-sufficient first responders. During the demonstration, Fire Dome successfully detected, targeted, and suppressed spot fires with precision aiming. The company calls it a, quote, turning point, because wildfires are getting big.
Right? Water balloon launcher. Okay, but what happened in Beverly Hills about 2 months ago when Beverly Hills, right? Look at Palisades, look left, look at Altadena. It's like you guys are in it. What happened when people said, hey, you got to do some mitigation, you got to cut down some trees? They said, no, we're going to buy one of these, right? That's what kind of the mentality that we're at right now, especially in California, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is like, no, it's not my problem. We're just going to tech our way out of it. No, we're not. Okay, so I think the opportunity for Oregon is right here, right? Let's let Palantir and Lockheed Martin do this. That's likely going to be FEMA. That's going to be that type of stuff, but we have an opportunity right in the middle. If you want to learn more about this, there's a great group called Wonder Labs. You can search Wonder Labs State of Fire Tech, and they can give you a little information. Okay, Now, what's this thing? So again, Mark's fault, number of other folks' fault. I started noticing something radically different in Oregon. It's this idea that people want to do something. Our cross-street neighbor went and bought a little Bobcat skid steer thing, and he offers to mitigate everyone's yard in our neighborhood. And it's crazy, right? It's crazy. We're on Aubrey Butte, so what's that? Yeah, he'll come. He loves it. It's kind of his toy, right? But every newsletter is like about Firewise and this and that. And so I started pulling on threads, and I started talking to the guys at OSU, the folks at EDCO. Every time I said, hey, we might do this, they said yes. Every time I said we might do this, they said yes. And so there's just this potential energy of action here. And remember what I said, this is a collective action problem. This is not a technology problem. So what we think we want to try to do is create this thing called OWL, Oregon Wildfire Innovation Lab. And we want to establish Oregon as a living lab for fire-adapted communities. And along the way, we want to become a worldwide leader in the products and services that support that. And every discussion I've had with people here is that this is ready to go. And so this is what we're trying to do. So again, back in this space here. So what is it? What's missing in the space right now is validation at the community level. There's lots of incubators that'll test this thing or that thing or this little thing or that little thing, but there's no place we can go with an idea, whether it be insurance, a new insurance product, a new fence material, some new mitigation tool. There's no place you can go and actually deploy it at community scale and see if it's viable. So what we want to do on the left side is do that deployment viability. What does it look like to go to community and promote this? Do you need incentives? Do you need, what's the pricing look like? Do you need to get the town council involved? And on the right side, and Dave will show you some of this, we want quantitative results. And so as we go and test these things, we're saying, yes, it's deployable, right? There's a cost of goods sold type thing. And on the other side, yes, it's going to bend the curve, and insurance companies are going to understand it. So what pops out of the top are proven solutions, ideas, concepts that we can take and make businesses out of. So this is what we want to do. Real quick on why Oregon, why Bend, why now. The why now you can kind of see pretty easily. The why Oregon, functioning insurance market, motivated population, diverse group of communities, ecosystems, that type of stuff. Why Bend? Like I said, people just seem ready to go. There's a community of innovators here. This is it. There's a merging capital. There's a lot of talent. And then why now? Let's just not be California. And I'm not saying I'm not a California hater, but right now the market there is so upside down and backwards. Let's not get there. I'm going to go through this real quick, but you can see why we want to do it. Smarter, safer communities, affordable insurance, and economic growth. I really think this can be an economic growth engine for the region. All right, last two slides. Who do we have going so far? A number of these folks are in the room. So if you look at the data foundation, we want to build that. The deployment side, we got this really interesting group called Firebrand that's based in Rogue Valley that's moving statewide. On the quantification side, Isla Plan, got some great stuff at Oregon State. A few communities have raised their hands, and we have some folks working. There's JH right there. A few folks working on the insurance side as well. So we've got a nice group kind of coming together, and now it's time to build. If you notice, we don't have a website, right? It's just sort of rubbing a few sticks together. But we got a really good group of people, and I got to tell you, the energy and the opportunity is here. So specifically, here's some stuff we can do, right? So if you're interested in being a demo community, great. HOAs are ideal for that. If you want to help build the platform or engage platform partners, great. If you want to help us engage insurance, anyway, you can read through all this stuff. But we're ready to, with OSU's help and some other folks, we got a little office. We got a group of really good people ready to make this real. So if you're interested, we do have an email, no website yet, but robert@owl.eco is how to reach out. So if you or someone you know would like to participate, please reach out.
This is amazing. Are you up for some Q&A? I think they're going to have a few questions. It's getting weird out there, huh? People are like, I want to blast it with a bomb. That's just not where my brain goes. It seems counterintuitive, but...
Well, how do I say this? We have people writing checks who don't understand what's going on, and they love shiny stuff.
No.
With wings and bombs.
Come on.
Yeah. So
get out of here with that.
I've heard. Yeah.
But this is really incredible because I say, like, the whole time you were talking about, like, sort of the solution, the direction this is going, I was like, I'm in, sign me up. Like, what can I do? I want to sign my whole neighborhood up. I'm not licensed to do, like, I'm not, they don't even, no, it's not a thing, but I'm like, let's get in there. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
Have you identified areas in Bend where you're, like, going to start deploying these projects?
We're trying not to get ahead of ourselves. I mean, it is all volunteer army. I've got a day job. Everyone else has day jobs. We're just sort of putting it together. We had Black Butte and Sun River at the meeting we did at OSU.
Great.
And they were like all in. I think if we reached out to any number of these HOAs, I think they'd be all in as well. But we're trying not to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. Okay. Questions for Robert. I know there will be some right here.
We already spoke, but I don't actually. To mention, this morning I was on a call with someone and she mentioned this awesome quote from Peter Block, which is, the question of how starts with yes. And I just thought that was appropriate. But the second thing is on the how do we join communities and everything. I would love to just put it out there that we should be thinking about also testing how this could work at a slightly larger scale, which is the City of Bend's Neighborhood Association. There are 13 of them. And they capture a wider range of property ownership, renters, commercial, residential.
Yeah. Yes.
And from an equity perspective, we can also test some of those barriers to action.
Yes.
Collective action in neighborhoods that we don't always think of.
Yeah.
As being a high priority.
Yeah, no one's thinking of my neighborhood. Thank you for that. She said we can go through City of Bend, the neighborhood associations.
Please
That's like a
send an
really
email
great
and
place to start. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you.
And we are looking at not just Bend. We're looking at Rogue Valley. We're looking at La Pine. We're looking at Madras. So the group that I mentioned, Firebrand Resilience Collective, they've got connections all over the state. And the other one that's pretty amazing, I put it up there, was OSU Extension. We think we can leverage them to really reach into these communities as well.
Yeah, so cool. Okay, other questions right here.
Yeah, it's usually cheaper to build and design houses, communities to be fire resilient in the first place. How much work have you done, or are you looking into working with builders to get things built appropriately?
This is a great question. So he says it's usually cheaper to build housing that's more resilient to begin with. And so he's wondering, like, have you connected with any builders and what does that look like?
We've thought, Hayden Holmes was interested in this. We've thought about it. There's actually some interesting stuff going on at UCLA where they're actually trying to train architects on how to build these things. In fact, what Dave will show on Xyloplan is that, for example, when you're laying out a community, why not put the golf course on the outside? Becomes a fuel break. And so I don't know much about what you're talking about, but I think, first let's stop the fires from burning down the communities we have. But I absolutely think we should be building the communities to be fire safe. It's going to make the property values better.
Yes.
It's going to make quality of life better. So there's definitely things we can do there.
Can we make those houses self-cleaning while we're at it? That's a question that I have, Robert. Let me know where you get with that. Okay, any other questions for Robert? Really? Oh, yes, right here.
What is the actual end goal here? Is it just generating awareness? Is it trying to get individual homeowners and consumers and whatnot to do their own part in it, or is it trying to just put together initiatives on the community level?
So he's wondering, what is the end goal here? Is it awareness? Is it getting people actually involved? Is it, what's the real,
End
have you gotten
goal
that far?
of OWL or just the whole thing?
Of OWL and
To me, this has to be a social movement. I'm old enough to remember, I don't remember people smoking on airplanes. I remember ashtrays on airplanes. And can you imagine if someone smoked on an airplane now? Because society has changed, right? Yeah. And so I'd like us 10, 15 years from now to be like, we build houses that are fire safe. We maintain them to be fire safe. And so the end goal, it sounds lofty and it's true, is to start sort of proving that motion can happen. It can happen at community scale, and that there can be a viable economic engine that supports it.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
if that's a decent answer, but that's what we're trying to do.
I mean, that last part is so important, right? If we can turn this into a business opportunity, people are like, tell me more.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. And also, I think you're
the
right,
most-
identifying the state of Oregon, people, especially in Central Oregon, people do want to be involved. So
It's amazing, yeah.
was there, yes, a follow-up.
On the same path, who is the target consumer? Is
Who-
it individual?
Who is the target consumer?
You know, neighborhoods? Is it the
So far the HOAs we think are pretty good because they have pretty good authority to tell you to do stuff, and they also often they own and manage the sort of common spaces, and so those seem like a good place to start. But I think it needs to be the entire community.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we're up for it, right? We can evolve forward, couldn't we? We could do it. I believe in us. Okay. This is amazing. And I think also some of these questions that people have, you're also answering those as you go, right? Am I understanding that correctly? You're like, what is this thing going to turn into? You don't have a clear set.
No, I think I think we've been very impressed with the group of people that we put together. Not impressed with myself, but I mean, like I've been, what's the right word? Impressed with the quality of the people that have raised their hand to participate.
And the number of yeses that you're getting.
Yeah,
I'm
and the
sure,
support from the community. And now it's a matter of how to put structure on that and move it forward.
Well, the truth is, this is like an underlying source of anxiety for everybody. Yes, 99% of us at least. And even just knowing that we're having a meaningful conversation around it helps.
Yeah.
So I would hope that you're getting a great response, and I appreciate what you're doing, and I hope you'll come check back in with us and send your friend over, because we've got some yard waste apparently in
Jamie,
the area.
and he loves it.
He sounds great. We all want to meet that guy. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Robert.
All right.
Yeah.